Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave Daily Update for the Nasdaq 100 and the S&P 500 for Thursday, December the 12th, 2024. I'm going to start with the Nasdaq, and I'm on the hourly chart. And we're starting to get a little bit of a divergence in terms of the Elliott Wave count between the Nasdaq and the S&P, which is okay. It does happen. It's not always have to be exactly the same, but I tend to run them pretty much in alignment because of the weighting of each of the component companies within each of these index within the top 10 are the Mag 7. So that's why they kind of run almost congruently in the same wave count. Right now, I'm seeing something that may be telling us. So let me lay this all out. I'm going to start with the NASDAQ. The Nasdaq continued to pull back today, and it still appears that it is likely going to just form an ABC. And let me see if I can't get this thing to settle down and get out of my way there. It's going to be forming an ABC. And what I feel we got is that A wave down to within the first hour of trade this morning, we made our low. And then we rallied, and I think that was the B, up to today's high, which is about 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern. And then we started to come down in a C wave. And all of a sudden, I mean, right after the bell, the market dropped to about 21,600. Then Broadcom came out with their earnings, and boom, the index flew up almost 100 points. I think we got back up to 85. So, 85 points, let's say. And now we're settling back down again as the conference call takes place, et cetera, et cetera. So I continue to kind of look at this as a continuing wave two. So what I've done, and I mentioned it yesterday, and now I'm actually going to put it into place. I did go look on a smaller time frame. I went all the way down to the 5-minute and in the 15, and I can count 5 up from this low. So I'm going to leave the 4 there for right now. And this is wave 1, and we are coming off in a wave 2. And we nearly got down to that 50% marker, but it stopped short, of course, at 21,604. That was the low this afternoon. And so I'm going to be looking for a little bit more. If it indeed is a wave 2, we need to now consider that it can come all the way down into here. In fact, the one thing that a wave 2 can't do is exceed the starting point of wave 1 for obvious reasons, and it's not going to be a wave 2. Wave 2 cannot exceed or finish below the low or the starting point of wave 1. Now, what it can do is kind of run up and do an irregular and then come back down. Like it's say that's the end point for wave 1. We get an A, we get a B goes up, and we get a C that shoots all the way back down. Then I've seen that happen in a wave 2 position. As strange as it is, similar to wave 4, but as strange as that seems to be, I'm beginning to see them a little bit more, and that's all within the last 2 years, 2.5 years, almost 3, let's say that. Because we're almost at January 2025, and I started noticing them in January 2023, 22, 23, around in 22. So in any case, how I'm going to track this now is that I still think that we've not completed minuet wave 5. So I think that's sub minuet wave 1 right there at yesterday's highs. And that we've still got the AB, and we're coming down in the C wave. And our markers again are 21,586. That would be a 50%, where wave 2 would be 50% of wave 1. The retracement 618 is 21,531. Now, yes, it can come down further. And then if it breaks that and we get it down, it should find some pretty strong support. And I imagine it's going to be 786 if I actually went in and just put that 786 up there. I think it might come in. Yep, look at that. Comes right in at that 200. So, and that's not totally unheard of within a second wave. So again, we did see some fantastic trading today. Still, there was a long period this morning where it just seemed like, within that first hour, first half hour, it was like, oh my Lord, just kind of bouncing in a box, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And it just was kind of crazy, but that's what the market did. And again, I'm trading off of a 2-minute, a 5-minute, and a 15-minute chart. Those are my time frames that are on my screen. And on the 2-minute, it was just like this. It wasn't even a wedge, it was just this big box. And then suddenly it just kind of did break out of the box in both directions. So, but not as easy to trade. Right off the bat, though, there were some decent moves. You got in, you got out, and you made your money, and then that was about it. So, um, having said that, we continue to see Tesla totally in play. Tesla again trading. I think the high in Tesla today was, oh boy, this is going to be a pain with that marker. Tesla's high was 429, the low was 415. So again, we're dealing with a 15-point range. Decent volume, 86, almost 87 million shares of Tesla. Yesterday, I believe it was over 100,000. Again, NVIDIA, 154 million, almost 155 million shares. And tighter range today, about 2.5 points, but still a lot of options trading, a lot of stock trading. Microsoft calming itself down, Meta definitely calming itself down today. The other bigger players, Google again had a great day, closer to 200. And this is all, you have to remember that when the Justice Department decided that they were going to recommend that Google spin off or jettison Chrome, it really started to knock the stock down. That has totally recovered because I believe Google has more money than probably the US, and they could just defend themselves and say, no, we're not going to do it. That's kind of a joke. But I think that the stock is now working its way back towards that 200 mark. And again, seeing a strong increase in options. So the options flow continued to really control our markets. And again, Apple, again, getting up to about 248 3/4, and then, just kind of sliding back and forth, but still decent range, a little bit less volume. So again, tomorrow is Friday expiration. So a lot of the gamma, a lot will be coming off tomorrow. And that's going to be important because what it still starts to build up is we have tomorrow and then next week. So I think the volatility remains solid until the 20th of December. And so that may also serve as our major expiration. At least it's the last monthly, of course, because it's the December expiration. But we do have daily expirations right up until the 31st. And I imagine there'll be a lot of build up to that 31st too. That's it. You no more can get your positions where you want them to be. You got to be all in alignment because that's what it's going to go coming into the new year. But coming into the 20th, we still could see a lot of positioning and structures and changes and moving things around. So the capital flow continues to be strong, not as strong as it was yesterday, but let's see what happens tomorrow. I do think that it'll be a volatile day again with Tesla swinging 15, $20 probably intraday. I think we could see Apple begin to move a little bit larger than what we saw today, maybe more in line with what we saw yesterday. So again, the Mag 7, I think, are really going to be in play again tomorrow because it is an expiration. And so a lot of stock will be shifted and moved around. So hopefully it's not going to sit in a tight range. Hopefully we get these big enough moves where we can get in and out as day traders, swing traders, and even if you're positioning in options, that you'll get some option plays where you get the move and you can get in and out. So I'm hoping that's going to happen. And back to the Nasdaq chart. What I'm going to continue to look at this as is at a subminuet wave 2. And that means we still have the wave 3. So our levels for upside remain pretty much intact. 618 came right there at that high, so I took it down because obviously I'm going to label that wave 1 is going to be exceeded. And so we have 100% at 22,045, I'll call it. And then the 1.618 at 22,472. So 470, 475 up in there. And that would be for minuet wave 5. Now, I got a 2.618, but 23,165. Is that out of the picture? No, it really is not. And I think by next Friday, it would be a very, very strong push, but my gut continues to tell me at least probably 22,000. So I'm continuing to hang out here to here, these two. So we have 21,885, 884, 85, and that's going to be where intermediate wave 3 would be 600% times the length of intermediate wave 1. And so you can see how I'm kind of figuring these out. I have 6.236, which is just another multiplication than Elliott, and then 6.618. So I'm just trying to fill my gaps of where I think this third wave may go. Obviously, it's going to go if the structure is not done. And right now, I think if this is all going to be wave 1. Now, I continue to say that, well, I can't say with 100% definition that that's just going to be wave 1. It's going to be 1, 2, and this is 3, and it's a deeper 4. Don't really like that because 2 is like teeny tiny and 4 is big. But guess what? We have been seeing that fairly consistent where wave 4 just kind of outdoes. This one was a little bit better. These two kind of coming in a little bit pretty much the same. So here, I'm going to leave it as a wave 2. But I still think we have additional downside to do. And as we come into our close, which just happened, they brought it all the way back down. That high we got was 85, and they're finishing it off at 630. So they brought it back $55, bringing it back into line. So that keeps me also where that's A, that's B, and we're coming down in a 5 to put in wave C. So again, the markers, 21,586, that's 50% support. 618 support is 21,531. 786 is 21,452.53. And those are all possible. I would think that we might slip past that 50%, end up somewhere in between 618 and 786. What we can't do is we cannot go down and close below 21,352 because that's the start of wave 1. All right, so that kind of takes care of the Nasdaq. Let's take a quick look at the daily. Just take a peek at our moving averages. Still very tight and looking good. 8 still going up, 20 still going up, 50 still, all of them still angling higher, still satisfied, I guess, that we are going to continue to move higher. And I believe that this is a 1, we'll finish at 2, and then we'll swing and we'll start to head up. All right, let's go over and take a look at the S&P. S&P 500, little bit different here today, I gotta say. See how deep it came? It slid past the 0.618. And so it's not that it can't, but as a wave 4, no. So that's out the window. As a wave 2, possible. But this one, when I broke it down and I started to look, it also, I can count 1, 2, and then a 3 and a 4, and then another 5. So I can count 5 up. I can put a wave 1 here, and then that sits okay here as well. But I'm just tossing out another. This is where that possible divergence may come in. If we're still looking at this as the possibility of just being an ABC up, then the alternate count that I want to leave, and this would be in that sub-minuet degree, right? That this would be A of 4, as I marked it. This marker would be A of 4. This would be B of 4, and we're coming down in a C wave. Because this is kind of like all working out to be 5. This is a 3, and this is 1, 2, and then a 3. That could be a 3, but 3, 4, and a 5. So we run in the possibility that we'll come back down towards that low, which is 6,041, 6,040. And then it'll be wave C and then wave 4 will come over here, and then we still have all of wave 5. So again, the shift was that today we saw more capital flow coming out of Dow stocks, going somewhere else, but coming out of some of the stocks in the Dow. There wasn't really anything that did extremely well today. The Russell got hit, the Nasdaq got hit, the S&P dropped, and the Dow. Everybody dropped. In fact, everything kind of looks like it dropped today. Bitcoin was off, gold was off, all of everything pretty much. Bonds were off. So it was just kind of a consolidation day. And so we'll see how things want to pan out tomorrow on Expiration Friday. Again, I do think it's going to be volatile, and it should remain volatile across the board for that matter. And here in that S&P, this would be the alternate. I want to make sure I labeled it as such. Otherwise, 4 stays there, 1 goes here, and we're in a wave 2. And if that's the case, I am going to put it in. Those are for a C wave down. And this would be, oops, let me put this in like this. And if I had to put this in, you can see that where it's come down almost to 786 in terms of it being a wave 2. So that's kind of why I threw out this alternate as well. I mean, this low is 6,055. 786 is 6,053. Now, yes, wave 2 can come and almost be 100%, but it just cannot exceed the starting point. Starting point is 6,039. That's why I'm throwing up the alternate, being that it's A wave up, B wave, A wave down, B wave up, C wave down 100%, 6,031. It covers us if we get that new low. And then we still have a strong rally on the way up. So you can see there's the difference between the S&P and the Nasdaq. So again, the Mag 7 has some flow in and out, and that will support or not in the S&P. But when we have everybody down, then we're looking at that the S&P is not finding that balance of support from the Mag 7. Okay, so let's take it back out and take a look at the daily on the S&P. Well, let me get out of this so that we can see. We can see that we broke and closed below the daily 8. That continues to suggest we're likely going to see some additional downside to start tomorrow. And so that's why I have these, and that's why I put this in. The 20 is sitting just below the 100-point marker, which is 6,031. The 20 is at 28, 6,028. And then the 50, but still pointing higher. 8 is going flat. The 20 is beginning to go flat. So you can see there was no relative strength to the upside today. The strength did kind of bring things into line, and that's on a daily. So very uneventful here in the S&P in terms of having the strength to kind of get itself up to where it needs to be. But yet we continue to see how it gets itself up towards that 6,100 level. It seems to be losing a little bit of steam, but we'll see how that all plays out. And that is going to be it for today in terms of analysis. Taking a quick look at what we're coming out tomorrow, import prices, and then import price index minus fuel. Why do they always think it's like, if we take out how much oil we import, what does that do? What does that say? But interestingly, they do put it out 2 numbers. Import price index should be down 0.2%. That's the forecast. We'll see. And the next daily update will be on Monday, December the 16th. And I will be putting together a weekly update over the coming weekend. Have a great trading day tomorrow, and also have a great weekend.